Buongiorno,
Good morning.
io sono Raffaele Miele,
My name
direttore
is
di Investor
Raffaele Miele, and I'm the director of Investor
Visa.
Visa.
Non ho ancora cambiato sesso e quindi la mia voce femminile è
And
data
the female voice that you hear
dalla collaborazione della nostra
is
validissima
the voice of our
Pascale, che nella
interpreter, who is Caterina Pascal,
interpretando
who is translating for you.
la mia relazione. Grazie Caterina.
Thank you. Thank you, Raffaele.
Bene, come da programma
As you can see in our program,
incontro
we're starting our short meeting with an
delle
analysis
politiche italiane
of the Italian
in materia
regulations
degli investimenti esteri,
regarding foreign
per passare
investments,
poi ad una
so that we can
esame
go on to
di quelle che sono
an
le
analysis
misure,
of what the measures are
spero,
that we hope
possono essere di interesse
can be
per gli
interesting
investitori extraeuropei
for foreign investors that are non-European,
del nuovo visto d'ingresso per
and
gli
the new visa, the new entry visa,
delle misure fiscali
and the
agevolate
tax breaks, the
per
flat
i nuovi
tax
residenti.
for the new
Di
residents.
questo secondo aspetto parlerà
Regarding this second aspect,
Pelliccia,
Massimo Pellecchia,
commercialista,
who is an accountant
nostro collaboratore.
and collaborates with us, will talk to you about.
Sapete perfettamente che
As you
in
know,
questi mesi l'Italia si trova
Italy is in a
condizione di passaggio
phase
da un'era politica
of political change from one to another.
Confidiamo nella
We
saggezza dei nuovi
we hope
governanti
that
affinché
our leaders
nella strada delle riforme che è stata avviata
continue
negli ultimi
towards
5 anni
the reforms that have been done in the past 5 years and that are the main instrument in making foreign investors interested in investing in Italy.
tra le politiche che hanno
Among the political measures that
voluto incentivare questi investimenti
have wanted to
ricordo le ultime riforme
spark interest in these kind of investments,
del processo civile,
such as the reforms of the
mercato
civil laws, the reforms of the work market,
dare vitalità
important investments
internazionalizzazione
to
delle nostre imprese.
give internationalization to our businesses.
120 milioni
I believe we have 120 million euro
per il Made in
extra to promote the Made in Italy.
Andando su quello che è nello specifico, diciamo, l'argomento
Our specific subject that I'm going to talk about right now, which is the entry visas, I'd like to tell you that the visas for investors are the second measure of visas in this topic. 3 years ago, the government already approved a first type of visa, which was a visa for innovative startup businesses, which was for citizens that were non-EU citizens, so as to start up an innovative startup business in Italy, which is to make a company that is dedicated to innovation and that has at least one of the following prerequisites. At least 15% of expenses are in research and development. The team should be at least 1/3 researchers or college graduates or owners of a patent. Apart from these things, to ask for a visa so that you can put up an innovative startup, it was also worth mentioning this type of Italian company was worth mentioning, because the foreign investor who wants to make an investment in Italy so he can obtain the visa for investors will have a tax break if the investment is made in an innovative startup. So the minimum investment that should be made is 500,000 euro, while investments in ordinary companies will be 1 million euro. For this reason, probably, as you have already seen in our gallery, there is a good offer, or at least a good request for investors for innovative startups. And we have gathered these because we think that the opportunities are very good, and there's a good perspective for development and for very interesting technological develops that we hope very much will come to an important profit for those who do invest. Apart from this first type of visa, what we're interested in, as I was saying, was the visa for investors. This visa comes from the end of the 2016 when the law was passed, but it became operative only in December of last year. In the course of time, regulations were put forward to build in a computer system that would manage these visas, because there are computerized procedures that are very quick and reliable. These procedures are conducted by the Ministry of Economy and also the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Introducing this investor visa, we should mention the system for entry visas in Italy and in Europe, which is the system that we call Schengen. The Schengen system, as you can see, shows the blue, which is the Schengen area, which probably many of you know. But I think it's important to show this. Perhaps someone doesn't know so well, and so that we can clear up the information regarding a national visa and the Schengen visa. Now, in the Schengen areas, 22 states are part of the Union, a part of the European Union. There are members who have decided not to participate, such as the United Kingdom and Ireland. But other 4 states, Cyprus, Croatia, Bulgaria, and Romania, still are not part of the Schengen system. On the other hand, there are countries that do participate: Ireland, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Principate of Monaco. They all participate.
Ecco, per ricordare
This is to remind
quello che è
us
il sistema dei visti Schengen, cioè
that
visti
the
di breve
system
durata
of
che
Schengen
consentono al
visas,
titolare
which
di
are short term,
entrare
but they
nelle
allow
zone
you
Schengen
to
e
come and
circolarvi
go
liberamente
within the
per
Schengen
un
area
periodo di massimo 90 giorni
for a maximum period of
in ore
90
a
days
seconda che
or
la
less,
rappresentanza
according to the visa that your visa was issued.
ma per alcuni motivi che non
But for some reasons
contemplano
that
l'esercizio di alcuni diritti,
are not foreseen, which is
valgono per
the
il turista,
acquisition of certain
valgono per
rights.
l'uomo d'affari,
This is for the person who is a tourist,
visto per
who is a
affari,
businessman,
quindi visti di breve soggiorno.
which means a short-term stay visa.
Ecco qua, questa è diciamo, la classica vignetta del
This
visto,
is the
dove
what this
vedi
visa
che
looks
è
like.
scritto Stati Schengen,
And you can
è
see
un
that we
visto
say Schengen
che vi
states.
consente di circolare nell'intera
And this will allow you to come and go and circulate within the Schengen areas.
Delle informazioni complete sul
You can
sistema
get
dei
full
visti
information on the
le
visa
troviamo
system.
sul sito del Ministero degli Affari
We
Esteri.
can find them on the website of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs.
Qui trovate una sezione
Here you are. You will see a section which is in the English language
che vi potrà fornire
that will give you
tutte le informazioni
all
nel
the
dettaglio
information in detail regarding
circa i requisiti
what are the requirements
visto per
to
non
obtain
soltanto i visti Schengen, ma
a
anche
visa for
gli altri
Italy.
visti.
Not only visas for the Schengen area, but national visas for other purposes.
Il visto nazionale è rilasciato
National
per periodi
visas
superiori
are issued for periods that are more than 90 days,
nel resto
which of course will allow you to circulate within the Schengen
è
area,
un visto
but
che
it is a visa
comporta la facoltà
that gives you
di
the
esercitare
option
tutta una serie di diritti
to
e il visto per lavoro
use
autonomo, il visto per lavoro subordinato,
different
il visto per
rights,
motivi
such
di
as
famiglia, il visto per motivi di
your
studio,
work,
il visto per
family,
motivi di
for study,
cure mediche
medical assistance,
e ovviamente il
and
nuovo visto
of
per
course this new
investitori.
visa for investors.
Su questo sito del Ministero
On
degli Affari
the
Esteri
Foreign
non
Ministry's
troverete però
website, you
informazioni
won't find
sul visto d'ingresso per investitori.
the investor
Perché,
visa
la legge ha affidato
because the
al Ministero
law
dello Sviluppo Economico
is part
la
of the
gestione
Ministry for Economic
della
Development.
parte propedeutica al rilascio del visto. Quindi la
So
prima
the
parte,
actual
la
part
prima
of
istruttoria
the
viene compiuta
procedure
presso il Ministero
for
dello
the
Sviluppo
issue
Economico.
of this kind of
E qui
visa
che
is
siede
part of the
il
Ministry for
comitato
Economic
di cui parleremo
Development.
a breve. Attenzione, ma anche questa
We
è una
must
informazione
be
che
careful, but this
sicuramente
is more
molti
information
già
that
conoscono.
is surely
Il
useful.
visto d'ingresso è
The entry
un'autorizzazione
visa
che consente
is an authorization
di
that
entrare in
allows
Italia.
you to
Ma
come in to Italy,
non è
but
l'autorizzazione,
it is not the authorization,
quasi mai
or it is never
l'autorizzazione che
the authorization
autorizza anche al soggiorno,
for
perché questa
a
seconda
stay,
autorizzazione è il permesso di
because
soggiorno
the second
che viene rilasciato
authorization
in Italia
is a residency
dagli
permit
uffici provinciali della polizia.
that is given by the local police
Permesso di soggiorno che
station.
non deve essere chiesto
The local police
sempre e
station
comunque.
is not necessarily needed always. There are situations where the foreigner that comes into
Non
Italy
dovrà chiedere il permesso.
is not obliged to request this
Cittadini degli Stati Uniti
permanency
che
visa,
vengono in Italia
such
per
as
periodi non superiori a
American
90
citizens who are not here for more than 90 days do not have
giorni,
to
siamo in regime di esenzione del visto,
ask for a
né
visa
devono
because
chiedere il permesso di soggiorno.
they are not
Però attenzione,
they're not required to have a visa. However,
arriva in Italia
if the US citizen comes into Italy directly from Washington or New York or from what other city, but comes directly into Italy,
la polizia di frontiera
the immigration police will stamp your passport.
è legittimato
And that
a soggiornare in
stamp
Italia
gives you the right to stay in Italy
90 giorni e non oltre.
up to 90 days
Se
and no
invece
more.
prima di arrivare in Italia
However,
dovesse andare a
if
Parigi,
you
a Francoforte,
should go to
a
Paris,
Berlino,
Frankfurt, Berlin,
in un'altra città
in another
dell'area
city
Schengen,
that is within the Schengen
venendo in
area,
Italia, in
coming
questo
into
caso
Italy,
dovrà effettuare entro 8
you
giorni
will
da
have to
una semplice comunicazione all'ufficio di
make a communication to the local office
Ecco,
within
vedete
8
il numero che
days.
viene apposto dalla polizia di frontiera.
You will see this is the stamp that you get at the immigration police. One is the stamp for when you go out of the country, one is the stamp for when you come
Il
into the
permesso di
country.
soggiorno, quando deve essere
The permission
richiesto,
to stay in Italy,
ad esclusione dei casi che abbiamo detto prima,
except for the cases that we mentioned before,
al di sotto dei 90 giorni,
which are less than 90 days,
dovrà essere richiesto entro 8 giorni.
will have to be
dall'ingresso in Italia,
requested
e verrà rilasciato
within 8 days after you've come into
sotto
Italy.
davanti e smarcato.
And this
Permesso di soggiorno
permission to stay is given in this form. This is the card that you will
Unione Europea.
receive, which is
E quindi è lo stesso permesso di soggiorno,
a European
lo
format.
stesso formato che viene rilasciato da tutti i paesi dell'Unione Europea.
And all of the European Union countries
Il
give the
permesso di
same
soggiorno
format.
viene rilasciato dalla
The
questura,
permission
come
to
dicevo,
stay is issued
con
by the
la
local
stessa
police
motivazione
station
che reca il visto d'ingresso, quindi se il
for
visto
the
d'ingresso
same reason why the
reca
entry
come
visa
motivo
is issued.
lavoro subordinato, il permesso di
If the
soggiorno
entry visa is
come
issued
motivo
for
lavoro subordinato.
work
Se
reasons,
per
you will
famiglia,
have
per famiglia.
a
Se è
permission
per
to stay, which
investitori,
is
il permesso di soggiorno sarà
for
per
work reasons. And the same is for investors.
questo visto
This
per gli investitori
visa
di cui stiamo parlando
for investors that we're talking about
è disponibile dal dicembre del 2017
has been available since December 2017.
e nonostante noi lo chiamiamo
And
visto per investitori,
even though we call it
in realtà
an investor
questa
visa,
autorizzazione
this
viene
authorization
concessa anche
is
ai
issued to business people.
non solo l'investitore che effettua
So
un
it's
investimento,
not only the investor
capitale di
who
una società,
makes an actual investment in a company, but also patrons who make an important investment or an important donation rather,
un progetto
we mean 1 million euro,
che
to
abbia come obiettivo la
projects
valorizzazione
that are of
dei
public
beni culturali
interest, that
del
are
nostro
belong
paese.
to cultural heritage. And as you
ma che
know, we
abbia
have
anche
very many.
ad oggetto dei programmi di ricerca scientifica
And also
o
research
nel
projects
campo dell'educazione
or
o anche nel campo
educational
dei
projects
cittadini stranieri, gli
or
immigrati.
immigration integration projects.
Allora, adesso entrando nel merito dei presupposti, dei
Now,
requisiti per
looking at what is
ottenere questo
required to
visto,
request and to obtain this
ci
visa,
poniamo una prima domanda.
let's ask ourselves a
Quindi,
question.
quali sono gli investimenti e le donazioni
What
che consentono
are
di
the
ottenere
investments
il visto
and
per
or
investire?
the donations that allow for an investor to obtain a
Il nostro
visa?
paese,
Our country,
il governo, lo
let's
scorso
say
anno,
the government
quando
last
ha
year,
portato in Parlamento questa legge,
when they presented this law to the parliament,
effettuato una scelta politica
they made
chiara,
a political
che si
choice,
pone, diciamo, un po', non dico in antitesi, ma
which
è
is
diversa da
a
quella
bit
fatta
different
da altri paesi dell'Unione Europea.
from what was made by other
Voi
countries in the
saprete
European
che,
countries. As you
per
know,
ottenere un visto
to
per
obtain a
investitori,
visa by an
per
investor
Spagna, per il Portogallo,
for Spain or Portugal,
sono sufficienti degli investimenti immobiliari.
Real estate investments are enough.
L'Italia ha fatto una scelta diversa.
Italy made another choice.
Vogliamo che l'investimento
We want the
vada
investment
in un settore produttivo,
to go
quindi
to productive
vada a
sectors,
fortificare il
that they
capitale
go to reinforce the capital
italiano o comunque di diritto
of a
italiano.
company or a company
E
that
quindi
exists in Italy.
l'investitore
And so the
vorrà
investor
avvalersi di questa
who
opportunità
would like to take advantage of
dovrà
this
effettuare
opportunity
l'investimento nel capitale
will
della
have
società
to make an
italiana.
investment in the capital
Società che può
of
essere
the Italian company.
di qualunque tipologia, una società
A
per
company
azioni,
of any type of company in
una
any
società
type of
a
business,
responsabilità limitata,
whether it
che
be
sono,
limited
le due
liability
principali forme
or
nelle quali sono costituite le società italiane.
whatever kind of constitution the company has.
La natura dell'investimento
The type of
quindi
investment
comporta l'ingresso come
means
socio in una società.
that you come into
Socio
a
di
company
minoranza
as
oppure
a
socio di
partner.
maggioranza.
You can be a minor partner, or you
Oppure
could also
socio
be a
unico
major
di una
partner,
società.
or you could also be
Per la
the
legge
only
è
partner.
importante che l'investitore
The law
straniero
wants
metta comunque i soldi
the
nel
foreign
capitale
investor to
E poi
put money into
rimanga,
the company.
socio per
But the
il 10%,
investor
per il 20,
is
per il 30,
free to
oppure
decide
acquisisca l'intero pacchetto di quote e
his
fondazioni.
part of
Non
the
importa.
company. That's
Quello
not
che importa
the
è
issue.
che
What is
questa
important is that
operazione
this operation
porti come minimo un investimento
brings
di 500.000 euro.
a minimum of
Ripeto,
500,000
se
euro
l'investimento è fatto nel capitale
investment
di una startup innovativa,
in the
o
capital
minimo 1 milione.
of a startup
Se
company,
l'investimento
or
è
a
fatto
minimum
nel
1
capitale di
million
un'altra società.
into the company of another
Nella
company.
nostra galleria vedete insomma, che
As
ci
you can
sono
see in our gallery,
diverse tipologie
There are different
di
types
richieste di investimento.
of
no?
requests
Come dicevo prima,
for
ci sono
investment.
startup che chiedono investimenti
There are startups that
di
ask
500.000
for
euro,
investments for
ma ci sono anche
500,000
società
euro, but then there are
che,
companies that ask
vogliono cedere
for
l'intero pacchetto azionario
that would like
e
to
parliamo soprattutto
hand
di grandi
over
alberghi,
the entire
investimenti molto
shares,
molto
all of the
importanti,
shares of the
però
company, such as some
all'investitore
hotels,
l'opportunità
which could be
di
an
acquisire
interesting
lo
opportunity
stock,
for
l'intero
some
capitale di
investors
questa società e
who
quindi
can
acquisire
buy
anche
a
la proprietà
whole
immobiliare.
stock of
E parliamo di grandi
property,
proprietà immobiliari.
and also including the real estate. And we are talking about very
È
big
importante
real
ricordare
estate.
che l'investimento non può essere frazionato.
The important thing is that the investment is not
se l'investitore
fractioned, it's
ha
not
a
divided up
disposizione
into parts.
un
So if the
milione,
investor
Questo milione deve andare ad
invests
un'unica società.
a million, the million
Se
has to go
l'investitore vuole
to
investire
one
mezzo
company.
milione perché è interessato alla startup, il
If-
mezzo milione minimo.
If the
non vedete
investor
che ci
would like
possa
to invest
investire
500,000
600,
or
1
more,
milione di euro anche in una startup,
it should go
però
to a
l'investimento
startup.
riguarda un solo beneficiario, una
But
sola
the
società.
investment should be made into
Poi se l'investitore
one
vuole fare più
only
investimenti nessuno glielo vieta, però per avere
project.
questo è
But
sufficiente.
if the investor wants to make more than one investment, that can be done. But
A favore di una sola società.
it is important that everything goes to one single company.
Ovviamente ritorniamo poi sull'argomento. Adesso
Then we will come back to the details of these.
individuare
This is just to
quelle che sono le
give the
tipologie.
details
Cioè,
on
quindi
what
abbiamo parlato
kind of
dell'investimento
investments can be
nel capitale di
made.
società,
So we said into
ma
the
è prevista anche
company
la
capital
possibilità di ottenere
or-
un visto per investitori attraverso l'acquisto di titoli
The-
di Stato.
or the purchase as well of
Noi
government
di questo non ce ne
bonds.
occupiamo. Ecco, come sicuramente avrete visto nel nostro sito,
As you probably saw
noi
on our
ci
website,
limitiamo a raccogliere
we
richieste di investimento da parte
gather
di società
the
italiane,
requests
a promuoverle
of investments from different companies so as to show them onto foreign markets.
assistere
And
l'investitore
we help
non solo
the investor in the first phase of administration with the administrators of the company to handle their procedures for obtaining visas. And also for their fiscal aspects, so that we will see when Massimo Pellecchia tells us about taking on fiscal residency in Italy. The minimum amount in state titles or state bonds or national bonds, the minimum amount is €2 million. Third point I want to make is the donation. In this case, we said that we invest a minimum of €1 million. The difference is that from the investment, apart from the type of operation that it is, this is not a business, but this is a donation to put your name on some important projects. For example, there was a donation of €2 million, €2.5 million, made by a very big Japanese businessman who financed the restoration of the Chelsea Pyramid in Rome. This donation, which was done outside of the visa, because these laws did not exist as of yet, but it was valued by the experts as a very important marketing investment, because this patron obtained an enormous advantage on his image for himself and for his company that he wouldn't have had otherwise. And this is just to give an example of what the results can be, even with the opportunities of donating for humanitarian, cultural, philanthropic projects can also be very interesting for an image, and these are because with these public initiatives. Another important thing is that the investment should go to just one beneficiary. In the case of donation, 1 million. But the patron can divide his donation, for example, 300,000 to the library in Florence, 500,000 to Venice for the restoration of the Bridge of Rialto, and 200,000 to the city of Viterbo, since we are in Viterbo, to restore a part of the medieval quarters. So the sum amount would be 1 million, even though the beneficiaries are different, but the patron will have the right to request the entry visa.
Ci poniamo una seconda domanda.
Another question. What are the requirements for the investor or the patron? Of course, the money to make the operation. And of course, that he has a valid passport,
che non deve aver avuto problemi con
that
nessun paese
he or
dell'area
she
Schengen.
has
Quando
not
intendo
had
problemi,
any
significa che non deve
problems with any of the
essere
Schengen
non
member
gradito
countries,
perché ha avuto un provvedimento di
that
allontanamento, un provvedimento
there was
di
some
respingimento
reason why
da uno
legally
qualsiasi dei paesi dell'area Schengen, quindi non soltanto dall'Italia, ma
he or
anche
she
da uno
had
degli
any
altri
problems with
paesi.
any of the Schengen
Non deve
countries.
aver riportato condanne penali
He or she
per
should
reati di
have
una certa importanza,
no
non parliamo di guida senza patente
crimes.
o di ubriachezza. Insomma,
We don't mean for
valutati
parking
dal
tickets
Comitato di
or other minor crimes, but important crimes.
Deve dimostrare di avere
The
le somme
request,
che
the person who requests should
donare,
be able to demonstrate that he has the money that he means to invest,
che
and
i soldi uniti
that there is a bank certification that the money is of legal origin,
con la quale dichiara di aver effettuato
so that
le verifiche antiriciclaggio
there
secondo quelli che
are
sono gli standard internazionali.
verifications that are reliable and bona fide.
Che l'Italia cerca soldi, ma qual è il paese che
Italy
cerca investitori?
wants money, of course, like all other
Però,
countries.
da queste poche parole che ho detto,
But from these words,
ecco, mi sembra di aver sottolineato a sufficienza
I think I've
che
been able to underline
siamo grati agli
that
investitori che porteranno
we
denaro in Italia,
welcome
a condizione
investors
che
who bring
una
money
scelta etica
into
che,
Italy on the
trova
condition
poi
that this money
la sua
is
conferma
of bona fide origin.
nel procedimento che verrà
In the
avviato
procedures
in Italia
that will be started
per
up
verificare tutti questi presupposti.
to verify all
Come
of
funziona
these
questa procedura.
procedures, we will see how they are conducted.
Ovviamente dovrà descrivere quali sono
Of course,
i requisiti
the
di questo suo
requirements
investimento.
will have to be
Dovrà dimostrare che la
described
società,
for this
l'ente
investment,
pubblico al quale destina l'azione,
and of course where the
sono
investment
favorevoli
will
a
be
ricevere questi denari
given,
e soprattutto
and
deve dichiarare il suo impegno ad
the
effettuare
investor will have to
l'investimento
declare
entro 90 giorni
his
dal
commitment
suo
to make his investment within
Perché,
90
attenzione,
days of
non si
his
chiede che l'investimento venga
entry
effettuato
into Italy.
prima dall'estero.
It is not necessary for the investment to be made before from abroad, but it is required that the investor or the patron
Al comitato di
proposes
valutazione di cui
his
parleremo,
investment
il suo interesse
and expresses his
e soprattutto la sua
interest
intenzione di effettuare
and intention
l'investimento e la
in
donazione,
making the investment or the donation,
proposta o domanda che verrà valutata,
which of course
se
the proposal will
sarà
be
valutata
evaluated,
verrà
and
rilasciato il visto,
if the proposal
Una volta
is
ottenuto il visto,
accepted,
l'investitore
the visa
verrà
will
in
be
Italia.
issued. The
E in
investor
90
or
giorni
patron will
effettuerà
come into Italy and within
Buono.
20 days will make the investment
Ci
or
poniamo una terza
donation.
domanda:
Third
come
question,
fare per chiedere il visto?
how is the visa
Beh,
requested?
è un visto particolare.
The visa
È
is
talmente
particular,
particolare che
It's very
contrariamente
particular.
ad altre tipologie di visto che magari
that
conoscete,
differently from other visas,
così ve ne siete occupati o l'avete ottenuto per voi stessi. In questo caso il visto è
The
preceduto
visa
da un nulla
will be preceded by
osta che viene
a
rilasciato.
authorization.
Scusate, ma ci troviamo in una via centrale e sta passando
There is
una banda musicale.
a musical band that's coming down the road. Since we
Non
live
so
in this,
quanto possa disturbare.
we live in the middle of the city. I'm sure you can hear it.
Probabilmente
I don't
la banda
know.
dell'esercito, perché qua abbiamo una scuola per
Because it's probably
e ce n'è anche
the
una
band
per
of the
gli
military,
marescialli.
because we have a school for an
Ci
NCO
deve
school
essere
here in
un giuramento,
Viterbo.
quindi
Perhaps today is the day
fanno anche
of
delle sfilate,
some
tanto
sort
fanno
of
anche
ceremony,
Ma beh,
and there's
con
some sort of
l'occasione
parade
io,
coming on.
vi sottolineo questa nostra
And so,
appartenenza a questa città
I
di
can
Viterbo,
show
che se non la
you
conoscete, vale la
what
pena.
Viterbo
Un giorno
is like, and
dovreste
If you don't know Viterbo, you should come and see Viterbo. That deserves to be seen. There's a lot to see here, especially the medieval quarters, which is exactly the same since the 13th century. Okay, the band has come through. So we said that this authorization will be issued, and this is the page on the internet site that shows you Investor Visa for Italy. And we're very similar as a definition. But we started this before the ministry did. And you can see the website, the Investor Visa website, which is, here is the website.
Questo comitato è un comitato interministeriale.
This is an interministerial committee that there are different members of the committee from the economic development, but also from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from the police force, from the fiscal police force, people from the Bank of Italy, who are those who verify the origin of money. So when requests are made by patrons, there are specialized people who are from the Ministry for Cultural Heritage. This committee evaluates the request and makes a decision within 30 days. This is what is written by law. And so this gives us guarantees that if we want to start the procedures for a visa, when we have all our documents, and we present them to the committee, we will have an answer within 30 days, and this is very important. The investor or the patron can ask for a visa for his or her family, for minor children or adult children who are not working, and parents who are within their charge. In this case, the request will have to be presented to another office, that the prefect of the province where the investor or patron will plan to live. These procedures are not complicated, but they must be done carefully. Just yesterday I spoke to one of the people who are a member of the committee, who I spoke to and got some temporary data on the procedures of their activities. And there is about 30% of the requests which are rejected because documents are missing, or because the bank documentation is not correct, or because the company that the investor wants to invest in does not have the prerequisites for investment. So to guarantee that this is not an operation that is just for that are legitimate and that are operative, and that they're not just to show that investment is being made for other purposes. An important thing
Una volta ottenuto
Once
questo nulla osta,
the
la domanda di
authorization
testa viene
is
fatta per via
obtained,
telematica, deve essere sottoscritta con una firma
it will have to
digitale.
be signed by digital
A quel punto
signature.
questo comitato
The
trasmette
committee
per via
will
telematica il nulla osta
transmit
alla nostra ambasciata,
the authorization
al nostro consolato,
telematically, electronically to
che
our
rilascerà il
embassy
visto in tempi molto brevi.
that
Ma in
will
tempi molto
issue the
brevi,
visa in
l'investitore o il mecenate,
short
che
time
riceve anche lui la comunicazione
period.
contestualmente,
But this
potrà
short time
chiedere,
period
un appuntamento, non dovrà far
means
fila.
that
Il decreto parla di un paio di due
the
giorni,
investor
se non
or
sbaglio.
the
Quindi
patron
vi arriva
can
la
make an
comunicazione che vi è stato
appointment
rilasciato in nulla
so that
osta?
he will not have
Ok.
to wait in line and he
Si
will
chiama,
not have to
o si scrive al
wait.
consolato,
He can
che già
call
ha ricevuto il
the
nulla osta,
embassy and
e
make an
si concorda
appointment.
l'appuntamento
So
per
he can go
presentare
directly to the
la domanda
appointment
di
without
visto.
having to wait.
E in quel caso andranno
And he
presentati
can
gli originali dei documenti
come with
che erano
the
stati inviati
original
per via telematica
documents and show them to the embassy.
le
And
verifiche del nostro ufficio visti, dell'ambasciata, del
the
consolato.
visa office in the
L'entità,
embassy
ovviamente,
will have to
verificherà
verify
effettivamente
identity, will have to
l'investitore
verify
ha i mezzi
that the
necessari,
investor
tanto quelli
has
per
the
investire,
economic
anche i mezzi
means
per mantenersi.
for support.
Ma qui parliamo di cifre minime rispetto a quelle che
But
sono
we are
cifre
talking
di cui
about
parlavamo
small amounts in this case.
e cioè deve dimostrare
But the investor should show that he or she has an income that is about 10,000 euro or more per year that are enough to support his family, support himself and his family.
Rilasciato il visto,
Once the visa is issued,
sempre per via telematica,
telematically,
sarà possibile chiedere l'appuntamento in questura. Quindi,
an appointment can be made in the
l'investitore deve
police
utilizzare
station.
entro 6 mesi dal rilascio.
So,
Prima di arrivare in Italia,
Before
ci sarà l'appuntamento in questura.
arriving in
Ricordandosi
Italy,
che
the appointment in the police station
la richiesta va fatta, che si deve presentare in questura entro 8 giorni dall'arrivo.
should be
Anche in
fixed
questo caso, come nel
within
caso
8
del
days
visto,
from the time of
non ci saranno
arrival.
file, ci sarà un appuntamento.
In this
E quindi
case as well, there are no lines to
il
wait
giorno e
in.
l'ora.
The person will have an appointment for his permission to stay.
Il permesso di soggiorno che verrà rilasciato
The permission to stay that is issued
per investitori.
is called
di
permission
2
to stay
anni.
for investors and is valid for 2
È un permesso di
years.
soggiorno che consente di
It is
esercitare
a permission
i
that
diritti civili
allows
che
you
l'Italia
to
riconosce ai cittadini stranieri.
have all of the rights
Quindi,
that
oltre ad
all
effettuare,
foreign
effettuare
citizens are allowed to
l'operazione
have.
davanti a un notaio, perché
To have
sia che si tratti
any kind
di
of operations
sul
which
capitale
are
di una società,
notarized,
sia che si tratti di donazione,
which means
si dovrà andare al notaio.
all of the
Quindi un pubblico
operations that are done for a company are done
darà la garanzia
by a notary public, who is
che
also a
la
guarantee
vostra operazione
that your operation
è del tutto
is completely legal and transparent
quando parliamo di
and
investimento ci
safe.
sarà una modifica dello statuto
Of
della
course,
società.
when an investment is made, there will be a change
Che è un atto
in the
pubblico
constitution of the company,
che
and
sarà effettuato
it
alla
is a
presenza di
public
due
document that will be
A
notarized with
proposito,
two
del
witnesses.
notariato,
The
figura che sappiamo
notary
esiste nel
services
vostro, almeno mi sembra, nel vostro ordinamento, è un pubblico ufficiale,
is done by a public
è un
official.
professionista, ma
He is
esercita
a professional
funzioni pubbliche.
who has public
Risponde civilmente,
services
penalmente,
and is
disciplinarmente
responsible for these services by
dell'attività
law,
che svolge.
civilly and
I notai in
penally.
Italia oggi sono 4.500.
In Italy today, we have 4,500 notary publics all over the Italian territory.
Secondo
And according
il Doing Business 2018,
to Doing Business of 2018, the international statistic is that notary services have contributed substantially with the Italian Chamber of Commerce to promote the Italian classification to the higher levels of the certainty, of the legal certainty of real estate transactions, of guarantee, and the time factor in constituting and creating companies. And I think this is a very good statistic, and it is a very interesting and positive aspect of what our notary publics do for this system. And it is a system that is completely technological and computerized. Once the operation, whether it be investment or donation, is completed, the document is to be transmitted to the committee so as to prove that the actual operation has been done. But we must be careful. If the investment or the donation are not done within 90 days or are revoked for some reason within 2 years, then the permission to stay is revoked and the missed investor or patron will have to leave the national territory, which will be spontaneous on his own accord, or there will be an expulsion order issued. However, let's consider that the investor does make his investment. So, after 2 years, when the investor or patron can demonstrate that he actually did make his investment, he will get another permission to stay, but this time it will last for 3 years. It's always a permission to stay for investments. At the end of these 3 years, which with the initial 2 years will add up to 5 years, the investor will be able to have permanent residency without an expiration date. I repeat that this permission to stay gives the right to all of the civil rights that are for any citizen. He can do everything that he can within his rights. Of course, if he comes to buy 100% of a company or a part of a company and makes an agreement with the company that he's the president or the director and works as professionally in this way, with this entry visa, he can continue in this activity, and he can also open up another company if he wants. In other words, he can do anything that he could do everything an Italian citizen can do, except for, of course, vote. Please remember that for 2 years, for the first 2 years, the permission to stay cannot be transformed into some sort of other visa. But after the first 2 years, the type of permission can be transformed, and that investor is free to continue with the company that he invested in, or he can discontinue his collaboration with that company and go on to collaborate with another company. In that case, he can ask for a new permission to stay, not for investors, but for freelance work. And this kind of visa we will talk about later. A question that comes up very often. Please excuse me. I have online Dr. Pellecchia.
Massimo, scusa, mi sa che non puoi fare una voce, vero?
Va bene, Massimo?
Di chiamarlo al telefono.
Okay.
Scusate,
please excuse me, I'll have to call Dr. Pellecchia on the telephone.
Io posso continuare? Sì, okay.
Can I continue?
Parliamo tra un pochino di un altro visto d'ingresso.
Let's talk about another entry visa, which is that of the freelance businessman.
Però, ecco, dicevo, spesso ci viene rivolta una domanda, ma voi di Investor Visa, che garanzie
you ask us, what guarantees do you, Investor Visa, give us to the final outcome of this operation? You know that the visa is an administrative authorization that does require a certain type of discretion by the administration that is to issue it. And so no serious professional will tell you that you will definitely have a visa. Any kind of visa, a professional person will never say such a thing. What he could say is, we will do everything that is possible to make sure that your request has a good outcome, and that we will do everything to make sure that all the documents are in order, and that all of the details are verified. And this is what a professional person can guarantee, and this is what we guarantee. As you can see, on our website, there are certain proposals which are agricultural companies and some hotels that are on sale. This is another kind of visa that has existed for a long time, but in the last 2 years has been changed a bit. You probably know that the work entry visas are regulated by the flows of entry, but coming to Italy with a work visa, you will have to respect what the rules are. And the first rule is having a certain quota of entry. In Italy, the quota of entry is 2,500,000 entry visas for work purposes, for freelance work purposes. And this was reserved for
a quello
businessmen,
straniero che
which
nel suo
means
paese,
that
nel
foreigner
paese dove vive, svolge un'attività
who
di imprenditore, quindi non deve
is
essere un
a
professionista,
businessman
non deve essere un
in
dipendente,
his
un collaboratore, ma deve
in
essere
his
proprio un imprenditore
in
che
his
ha una sua
country is
impresa,
a businessman with his own
non
company,
importa di che tipo
no
di
matter
impresa si tratti,
what kind of
ma deve
company
essere
it
un
is,
imprenditore
but he must be a
che
businessman
chiede questo
who
visto
asks
per
for this visa
effettuare un investimento in
to
Italia,
make an
minimo
investment,
500.000 euro,
minimum 500,000
investimento
euro,
dal quale nasceranno
and from
3
this
nuovi posti di
investment,
lavoro.
3 new work
Quindi,
positions are to be
con il visto di cui
created.
abbiamo parlato, le differenze
So,
con il visto di cui abbiamo parlato,
this is a
primo,
difference from
il
the
visto per investitori
visa that
non
we
è
spoke about.
soggetto
First,
a
the
quote. Quindi
visa
ci
for
possono
investors
essere
are
anche
not
10.000 investitori
subject to
che vogliono
quotas.
entrare in Italia
There
per
can be
investire,
10,000
c'è posto
investors
per
who wants to come in. There's a place for
per
everybody.
l'imprenditore che vuole
However,
creare impresa,
the businessman
i
who
posti
wants
sono
to
limitati
create
e
a
deve
business,
garantire
the
di creare almeno 3
places
posti di
are limited, and he must guarantee to create at least three
L'altra
work
differenza
positions.
è che
And another
per
difference is
l'investimento,
that
se si vuole
the
investire in una società non
investment
startup,
in a company which is not a startup should
se si
be
vuole
at
creare
least
una propria
1 million.
impresa,
If he or
essendo,
she
ripeto, imprenditori,
wants to create his
è
own
sufficiente investire
company,
mezzo milione.
500,000 is
Bisogna
enough.
garantire 3
However,
posti di lavoro.
3
Allora,
work
ecco,
positions
nel
must
nostro
be
sito ci sono anche
guaranteed.
delle proposte che
We
riguardano
also have these
l'acquisto
kind of
di
proposals in
aziende
our
agricole,
website
l'acquisto
that
di alberghi,
we have
per i
agricultural
quali,
companies
esistono dei
and
business plan che consentiranno
hotels
all'imprenditore
where there are
laddove
business
se fa
plans
questa
where
operazione
an investor who's interested in this kind of who's interested in this kind of activity can come to Italy and invest in this kind of structure, and he or she knows that 3 new work positions will be created. And in this case, the visa that will be issued will be for 2 years. In this case, the committee will not filter the request, but the request for the visa will be given directly to the embassy. However, in Italy, there will have to be some preliminary authorizations. One is the Italian Chamber of Commerce, and the other one, the local police station. Even for this kind of visa, we are here to give our advice, consultants, and our assistance. And we can also help in evaluating if the person has the prerequisites so that the person or the potential investor knows what kind of visa he can request, and we can also help you in checking and making sure that all of the documentation and prerequisites are the proper documents that are needed for the visas requested, and so all of the procedures are presented to the police in order. So for now, we are waiting to connect to Massimo Pellecchia, and the program had a short presentation by our notary, by Giulia, who was to show us her report, but she had a problem in her office, and she won't be able to explain her part. So Dr. Pellecchia is not here in Viterbo with us, but he's connecting from Rome. Just give me 2 minutes in these 2 minutes, please make any questions you may have or any information you may want on our chat so that we can read it and we can answer them. And so in the meantime, let's open our communication with Dr. Pellecchia.
No, io direi lasciamo aperto.
Ciao Raffaele.
Aspetta che aumento un pochino il volume.
Sì.
Allora Massimo, devi tirare un pochino verso di te lo schermo, perché sennò ti si vede soltanto la pelata. Così va bene? Vediamo, così, ok? Mettiti seduto. Perfetto.
Va bene?
Eccellente. Posso ancora un pochino.
Aspetta, hai la giacca. Facciamo le cose fatte bene.
Facciamo le cose fatte bene. No, probabilmente non hai bisogno di cuffia, no, tu come lo senti? Certo, se ci avessi una cuffietta forse sarebbe meglio.
No, guarda, io sento benissimo.
So io che devo sentire te.
Mi senti?
Sì, però ecco, avvicinati ancora un altro pochino.
Va bene così?
Ok, così va bene, perfetto.
Oh.
Perfetto. Allora, un attimo, Caterina, noi riprendiamo.
Ok, va bene. Sì, va bene, sì.
Adesso mi dai la presentazione.
Ok.
Allora, siamo in linea? Bene, allora
Ok.
passiamo direttamente
We're going to the second part of this program, which
da Massimo
Pellecchia will do in English. Our accountant, he is in Rome. He's part of the International Fiscal Committee of the Accountant Guild in Rome. Massimo Pellecchia will talk to us about the measures which are in favor of the new residents. We are talking about those investors that would like to transfer their fiscal residence to Italy. Could be convenient for some of you, could be interesting for some of you.
Massimo, quanto hai? 35-40 minuti, giusto?
Sì, 35-40 minuti.
Ok, io mi metto di qua perché così ti mando le slide, è sufficiente che tu le chiami.
Ok.
Quindi mi dici slide 1, lo puoi dire in inglese che capisco.
Ok.
Bene. Adesso ti dico quando sei in onda.
Sì. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to Mr. Mieri for the invitation to this web conference. The topic of this section is the new flat tax regime for individuals that transfer their tax resident in Italy. Let's start from the second slide, where there is l'agenda, la pagina 2. In this respect, we have the list of the bullet point we will discuss during during my presentation. First of all, we will discuss what are the requirements to be considered tax resident tax purposes in Italy for fiscal year 2019. In the second point, the second bullet point is related to the ordinary tax regime applicable to a resident in Italy, and then the bullet points 3, 4, and 5 are related to the new flat tax regime. The first bullet point is related to the main features of the regime. The second one is the extension of this regime to the family members of the main taxpayer. And finally, we will discuss the cherry-picking clause concerning the tax jurisdiction which are covered by the new flat tax regime. At the end of my presentation, I will show you two examples related to the application of the flat tax regime concerning the professional income and dividends and capital gains. These are this type of income, dividend and capital gain, are really interesting from the perspective of a foreign taxpayer, since generally this type of regime is applicable to net worth wealth individuals. In this respect, please turn to page 3. Okay. Page 3 show what are the conditions to be considered tax resident for tax purposes in Italy. We have two kinds of requirements. I used to call the time requirements and the geographical requirements. The first one, the time requirements, relates to the time that the taxpayer spends in Italy. To be considered resident, the taxpayer must stay in Italy for the greater part of the year. It means at least for 133 days. For the second requirement is related to a geographical point. The taxpayer must be staying in Italy, and it is we have three cases where the taxpayer is considered staying in Italy. If he is registered in the register of Italian resident population, or if he has the domicile in Italy, pursuant to Article 43, paragraph 1 of the Civil Code, where domicile means that the taxpayer, as in Italy, is principal center of business and interest. And finally, if the taxpayer has the resident in Italy according to Article 43, paragraph 2 of the Civil Code. In other words, if the taxpayer is habitually in Italy. If one of these three cases are met and the taxpayer spends the greater part of the year in Italy, he is considered tax resident in Italy in the year in which both the requirements are met. In this case, what's up? For tax residents, the taxation is related to the worldwide income, and it is taxed according to a progressive rate. We will see that in this table. Please turn page 4. We will see that the taxpayer is taxed up to 15,000 euro at a rate of 23%. From 15,000 euro to 28,000 euro at a rate of 27%. From 28,000 euro to 55,000 euro to 38%. From 55,000 euro to 75,000 euro at a rate of 41%, and finally, for the income that exceeds 75,000 euro, the rate applicable is 43%. But this is not the only tax applicable to the income earned by the taxpayer, since to the same amount is also applied the regional tax ranging from 1.23% to 3.33%, and municipal tax up to 0.9%. So this is the ordinary tax regime to applicable to the individual that is present in Italy for tax purposes. There is also an exception for income from capital, interest and dividend, and capital gain on participation. Currently, the taxation is based on a 26% substitute tax. Please bear in mind that in case the ordinary tax regime is applicable, the taxpayer is granted a foreign tax credit concerning the taxes paid in a foreign jurisdiction. This does not happen in the case the income of the taxpayer is subject to a substitute tax. Well, this is clear from an ordinary tax standpoint, but please turn to page 5, where we will see what are the main features of the new flat tax regime. So, to be entitled to apply for the flat tax regime, the taxpayer need to meet two requirements. First of all, he has to be considered tax resident in Italy. The second one is that the same taxpayer was not considered resident in Italy for tax purposes at least for 9 out of past 10 years preceding the option for the new regime. Well, if both these requirements are met, the taxpayer is entitled to opt for the new tax regime. What are the benefits deriving from this new regime? Well, although income sources in Italy are subject to ordinary tax regime, income sources outside Italy are subject to a flat tax equal to 100,000 euro per year. Please bear in mind that another benefit from this regime is related to the cherry-picking clause that allow the taxpayer to exclude some tax jurisdiction from the tax regime, the flat tax regime, Well, having said that, we have to understand how does it work, and the option cover a period of 15 years. So the taxpayer during the next 15 years may benefit of this regime in relation to the income sources outside Italy, paying an amount of tax equal to 100,000 euros. The regime is also revocable. It means that the taxpayer in any time can decide to not continue to apply the regime at issue. Moreover, the flat tax regime terminates its effect if the taxpayer does not pay the tax at the term provided by the law, or in case of the transfer of tax resident outside Italy. Well, Bear in mind that the new regime is not renewable. It means that after the 15 years of the application of the regime, the taxpayer cannot ask for to renew the regime for other 15 years. Well, these are the main features of the regime. Anyway, to apply the regime, the taxpayer must to exercise the option in the tax return. In the year in which he is considered tax resident in Italy, or in the second tax period in which the taxpayer is considered. To understand if the taxpayer may benefit of this regime, it is possible before the option in the tax return, checking the box, it is possible to require a tax ruling to the tax administration to understand if requirements provided to be entitled for this regime are met, and which kind of income concerning the personal position of the taxpayer may benefit of this of the flat tax. In other words, we have to understand if the income earned by the taxpayer is considered from the Italian standpoint sourced outside Italy or in Italy. If this income is considered sourced in Italy, then it is taxed according to the ordinary tax regime. Whilst if the income is considered sourced outside Italy, then it can benefit from the 100,000 euros paid for the flat tax regime. So in this case, the income sourced outside Italy is not taxed according to ordinary tax regime. Well, let's move to page 6. In page 6, we discuss if the flat tax regime is applicable also to the family members of the taxpayer. And the answer to this question is positive, since the main taxpayer may extend the regime also to other family members who satisfy the mentioned requirements. I mean, also for family members, we have to assess if the requirements are met. In other words, if they are resident for tax purposes in Italy, and if they were not considered tax resident in Italy, 9 out of 10 tax periods before the one in which the option is exercised. Well, in this case, where both the requirements are met and the main taxpayer extend the regime also to the family members are subject to a subsidy tax, the flat tax, equal to 25,000 euros per year. It means that for family members there is further advantages related to the amount of the tax paid, since for the main taxpayer the amount is equal to 100,000 euros, whilst for the family members it is equal to 25,000 euros. Well, we have to also analyze the regime for family members concerning the case in which it is the regime is in case of revocation or termination of the regime. So, if the revocation or termination is made by the family members, then the option is not, there is not, the validity of the option is not affected by the revocation or termination decided by one of the members of family members. Whilst the contrary is not true. I mean that if the revocation or termination is made by the main taxpayers, the validity of the option for members of his family is affected by this revocation or termination concerning the main taxpayer. Well, in this case, one of the family members may change his position and ask to become the main taxpayer in the regime. And in this case, the effect of the regime continues, and there are and the revocation or termination does not affect the new option applied by the family members. Well, having said that, we have to analyze and how the duration of the extension of the option to family members and how long is the duration of the extension of the option to the family members. And in this case, in such cases, the duration of the new option or extension may not exceed 15 years, consider also the year of validity of previous extension. Well, let's move to the page 7. Okay. In this slide, we will discuss the cherry picking clause. So, when the taxpayer applies for this regime, the flat tax regime, the regime is applicable to worldwide. It means that all tax jurisdictions are covered by the option. In this case, the taxpayer may choose to exclude some country from the application of the flat tax regime. Where is the case in which the taxpayer may decide to exclude some tax jurisdiction from the flat tax regime? Well, this can be related to the case in which in one or more tax jurisdictions the taxpayer expects to have a loss, since if the flat tax regime is applicable, losses are not considered relevant from an Italian standpoint. So, if the taxpayer decided to exclude this jurisdiction from which from which of the jurisdiction covered by the flat tax regime, the losses realized abroad can be offset with income realized in Italy. So bear in mind that the advantages of realized losses relevant for tax purposes in Italy may be a reason to exclude that tax jurisdiction by the application of the flat tax regime. Well, turning to page 8, where we can see some example concerning the professional income. Well, if let's make an example. If a taxpayer is a tax lawyer and is a US tax lawyer that decided to transfer his tax resident in Italy. Well, the income realized by the taxpayer is generally considered sourced in Italy. But if our taxpayer has a fixed base in the US, well, the income realized to the fixed base is considered source abroad, and in this case, our US tax advisor resident in Italy may benefit of the regime, since for that income, instead of the application of the ordinary tax regime, the flat tax regime can be applied, and for income earned abroad, the taxpayer must pay a tax equal to 100,000 euros per year. Let's move to the second case, turn to page 9, and we can see that we have a different type of income, let's say dividend and capital gains. So the ordinary tax regime applied to this kind of income is quite similar, because it is provided that dividend accrued in 2018 is taxed when the company decides the distribution of this income through payment of dividend, is taxed by a substitute tax at the rate of 26%. Disregarding if the dividend is considered derived from a participation, a qualified or not qualified participation, is not relevant. In both cases, the dividend is taxed to a substitute tax of its rate at a rate of 26%. Moving to the case of capital gains, the rule applicable from the 1st of January 2019 is that capital gains are taxed at a rate of 26%, disregarding if the participation sold can be considered a qualified or not qualified participation. But please bear in mind that since the regime applicable to dividend and capital gains is a substitute tax, then for the taxes paid abroad, there is not granted, is not granted a foreign tax credit for the taxes paid abroad. Well, what are the advantages of the flat tax regime in this case? If the dividends and capital gain are sourced abroad, it means that for this kind of income, the payment of the flat tax can be an advantage only if the income deriving in terms of dividend and capital gain is more than 500,000 euros. And to understand if the capital gains or dividend are sourced abroad, we have to understand if the payor of the dividend is a company situated abroad or the sale of participation is related to a company located abroad. Only in this case, so we have capital gains sourced abroad if the company to which the participation refers is situated abroad. Whilst for dividend, it's necessary that payor of the dividend is a company, is a non-resident company. Where in this case, the flat tax regime is applicable and the capital gains and dividend, instead of to be taxed at a rate of 26%, are subject to a flat tax regime equal to 100,000 euros. But please bear in mind that for the initial 5 years of the flat tax regime, capital gain derived from the sale of qualified participation does not benefit from the regime, and the capital gain so is taxed to the ordinary tax regime. Well, having said that, we have to say that this kind of regime currently has increased the transfer of tax resident by foreign individuals in Italy, since is provide particular advantages because generally people who opt for this regime is a network wealth individuals, so general people that earn income equal or more than 1 million euro per year, and generally this type of income is related to dividends or capital gains. And there are a lot of people that want to transfer their residence. We already provide assistance to US, German, and French individuals that want to transfer their tax resident in Italy to benefit of the flat tax regime, since generally they earn income deriving from capital, let's say dividend or interest, or capital gains from the sale of participation. But we have also cases in which the taxpayer was a manager of a relevant multinational company, and he his wage was higher than 1 million euros. So please, for any additional information related to this kind of regime, do not hesitate to contact us. to receive the necessary information for the evaluation of the advantages deriving from the transfer of residence in Italy to benefit from the flat tax regime. And that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. We are here to answer to any questions related to this presentation. And so, if you have, does anyone have questions so far, please don't hesitate to ask further information. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Raffaele Miele will be back to talk to you. And thank you for your interesting explanation of the tax regime. And
Thank you
we'll
very
see you in
much.
5 minutes. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night, Massimo. Thank you.
5 minuti di pausa.
Yes, 5-minute break, and we'll be back with you in 5 minutes. Bye-bye.
Ok, grazie. Grande Caterina.
Meno male. Hello everyone, we're back. Good evening. Good to be back with you. Here I'm going to introduce you Alessia Paulicchi, who is the Executive Director at the Italian Chamber of Commerce. And she has a lot of interesting information regarding the investor visa. And I'll give the word to Alessia. So please, Alessia.
Thank you, and hello everyone. And as a real Texans would say, how are y'all? I'm here today with you to tell you about the Italy-America Chamber of Commerce of Texas, about its activities, services, and its business network. And to better understand the environment where the Chamber lives in, I will give you just some hints about Texas economy, its investor community, and what as a Chamber we can do to assist either Italian companies to settle in Texas and American companies to invest in Italy. Let me start telling you that when I first moved to Texas almost 10 years ago, I had never heard about Texas. Apart from the overused Houston, we have a problem. Since then, my life changed deeply, and I learned how to love these friendly, humid, spread out countries and call it my home. But it wasn't until I started working with the Chamber of Commerce that I realized how relevant Texas economy was in the world. The Lone Star State, that is the name of Texas because of its flag with a huge star, is a machine performing amazingly well, even with the ups and downs of the oil downturns. And I believe this is a good news, not only for Texans, but also for us, because it means opportunities for Italian companies willing to expand their business in US, and at the same time, put the Lone Star State in the spotlight for the investment attraction politics that Italy has put in action. Let me tell you that Texas, as a standalone country, would be the 10th largest economy in the world, ahead of Russia, Australia, Spain, Mexico, and many others. Its GDP in 2017 was $1,696 trillion, and his unemployment rate at the end of 2017 fell to 3.9%, and it decreased of 0.2 more in the first 6 months of 2018. So this means that practically there's no voluntary unemployment in Texas. Texas is home of more than 50 Fortune 500 companies, has no corporate and personal income tax, and for the 16 consecutive years has been the top exporting state in US, exporting more than 18% of US total. Overall, I want to just summarize. You are in Texas when you find a business-friendly climate, highly skilled workforce, access to global market, first-class infrastructure, and predictable regulation. All of them create a place where business can flourish. The strong economy in Texas also push the growth of the venture community, and that's something we are focusing on to try to convince those people, those community, that there are opportunities for them in Texas. Please just consider that the Texas startup in the technology and innovation sector got only in 2017 $6.5 billion as a venture capital investment. So those are the people we are focusing on. We want them. Different numbers, I'm afraid I have to tell you about American direct investment to Italy. In the last 12 years, the American investment towards Italy decreased of about 3%, while Italian investment in the United States in the same period, 12 years, increased more than 300%. For Americans investors, Italy is only the 38th destination in which to invest at the global level. All that said, I'm sure that the legislation already in effect in Italy, and that is the focus of the webinar today, that provide financial benefits for non-EU investors, is really more than welcome, is definitely the good tool that hopefully will be able to change the trend and will us be able to say that American direct investments are growing over 2, 3, 10, maybe 20% a year. Let me tell now about something about the chamber, who we are, what we do, and why we do even exist in the international network. The Chamber of Texas, the Italian Chamber of Texas, has been established in 1992 as a no-profit local corporation, and its goal is to promote trade relations between Italy and the United States. The Chamber network is composed of more than 200 companies and about 500 individuals, all Americans, Italians, of Italian origin or international, a community so diverse as it is Houston. Because as a matter of fact, I'm sure none of you has never even suspected that Houston is the most diverse city in the USA. And Houston is the city where the chamber is headquartered. But we also have branches in Austin, the state capital, in Dallas, and in New Orleans, that is in Louisiana. We belong to a bigger network called Assocamere Estero, who is the association of the Italian Chambers Abroad, created to promote the Chamber's activity and to enhance the network among Italian and international institutions as well as business organizations. The worldwide network we are part of is composed of 75 chambers operating in 54 countries with more than 24,000 members and with about 2,000 professionals working for this system. What is our strength? Why are we different? What can we do for American investors and for Italian companies? Why we are different from consulting firms? We are only composed of entrepreneurs, Italian, American, and international, which run their business in Texas and whose know-how is our key factor. Indeed, the strength of the chamber, if we have a meaning in our activity, is the deep and long relations with the local business community. And at the same time, we are Italian, so we know how to assist Italian companies to do business in Texas because we know the differences between doing business as Italian and as American. And on the opposite side, we know exactly when American investor will find the big and the first critical issues investing or doing business in Italy. So our role is really of a bridge, of a link between those two business communities. A few words about our services. We can offer a wide range of services that goes from strategic consulting to technical assistance in the local market, either Italy or Texas. We do business partner researches, marketing campaigns. We create customized business-to-business meetings. We assist American and Italian companies to attend the most important trade exhibition in Italy and in the United States. We offer legal and financial assistance, credit report, business information, and of course, we can offer translating, interpreter service, and logistic support, meaning co-working office space, conference room rental, registered agent service, all of them really deeply needed by especially middle and small-size Italian company. Finally, we also offer some services that are kind of customized for American investors. And they, let's say they include confidential real estate and business facility searches evaluation and application for incentives, service that facilitate working training and recruitment, and even, I would say, advocate for local and state issues. A whole bunch of services that I like to summarize, saying that the Chamber's main goal is to ensure the safest and the most effective lending to Texas for Italian companies, and on the other side, to be able to assist American companies and investors to identify the best investment opportunities in Italy. I believe that I can see that my time is just about up. So to finish this talk, I really would like, because I appreciate and thank you all of you for the interest today. And if anyone has or like to have more information regarding our services and the activities, please feel free to contact me at a.paolicki@iacctexas.com. Thank you again and have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessia. grazie, molte grazie.
Thank you very much, Alessia.
Alessia Paolicki era collegata da Pisa.
Alessia was connected from Pisa, and we were able to see the loveliness of this house, because in the background there was a beautiful frame, the beautiful Italian frames that are in the background.
La tua casa americana non è così. Va bene, proverai un po' di nostalgia adesso che dovrai ritornare a Houston.
I'm sure that you miss your house in America as well.
Casa mia, l'Italia è il paese che amo, ma ormai la mia vita è in Texas.
And Chiara
sono felice anche di tornare a casa.
she's happy to get back to America.
E noi ci vediamo a marzo.
Okay, we'll see you again in March, Alessia.
Grazie.
Thank
Grazie
you.
alla Camera di Commercio.
Thanks to the
Alessia.
Chamber of Commerce and Alessia
Grazie.
Paolicki.
Buonasera.
Thank you very much.
Bene,
Good.
allora abbiamo terminato.
Okay, this is the end of our
Io spero che sia stato
transmission. I hope
utile,
that it has been
per
useful for you so that you can
gli
understand
strumenti che
what
l'Italia
instruments
mette a disposizione
Italy
chi
can
vorrà
give you
investire
to
o fare
help you with
delle
investing
donazioni.
in Italy or making donations. And I thank you very much for your attention. Any questions you may have or any information you may want, please answer on our chat, or you can use our contacts, which is email or contacts that you find on the website, and we will get back to you with information. And thank you very much. Thank you for the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Texas and for their wonderful collaboration with us, and from the Alessia Paolicki, who is the General Executive, and for her excellent explanation, who can show us the information. Thank you very much, and good day. Bye-bye.